Xbox and Apple, it looks like they're working together. In what could only be described as more awkward than my 8th grade dance, Xbox and Apple are working together to bring an app to the Xbox. I know, it sounds a little awkward because, well, in fact, it has to be. So here's the deal. Thanks to a user on Twitter, let me pull up his name here, named Tsunami Zap. He logged into his Xbox console and said, hey, look, you can install Apple TV. Now, I don't believe this individual could actually install it, and I believe that Microsoft is working on this sort of in close proximity, and maybe a very small limited of beta testers are actually seeing this. But here's the deal. What Microsoft and Apple are working on together is to bring Apple's TV subscription service to the Xbox console. Now, that is really awkward for multiple reasons. Number one, because Apple TV is effectively a microservice inside of an app running on another platform. Well, much like xCloud. xCloud is a microservice inside of an app running on another platform. And so what Apple and Microsoft effectively are doing here is building an app so that you can turn on your Xbox, install the Apple TV app, and watch all the shows that are streamed from Apple TV. They've got a bunch of them. It's not that big of a deal. It's sort of like one Xbox for all your media entertainment, all that good stuff. That sounds familiar. That's how they launched the Xbox One, but it was to TV, and TV isn't really the focus here. But anyways, I digress. The goal here is that you can turn on your Xbox, have access to Netflix, Hulu, Apple TV, all the services in the world just straight from your console, and that is just another benefit of the world's most powerful gaming console, or the most valuable one if you go with the Series S. That is that. The goal here is Microsoft and Apple are working together to make this possible. Now, what's really awkward here is the obvious is that you can't play xCloud on iOS devices. Is Microsoft using this to maybe leverage to try to get some, beneficial or preferential treatment on iOS, sort of like how Amazon bribed the Safari engineers to include the things so that they can make Luna work on Safari on iOS 14? I don't know if they actually bribed them, but Luna, Amazon's game streaming service, will work on iOS via the browser, while xCloud does not. So a little awkward, even more awkward maybe than we initially thought. But Microsoft and Apple actually have a very long history of working together. One of the more recent announcements is that iTunes got brought to the Windows Store, or the Microsoft Store as it is called now. They announced this, I think, in 2018 or so. You can now download the dumpster fire that is iTunes directly from the Microsoft Store. At one point, Microsoft had these major ambitions that the Microsoft Store was going to be the be-all, end-all solution for, effectively finding apps and downloading apps on Windows, but that pipe dream didn't really materialize, and while it is still there and it's still a very fine place to download and safe place to download apps, it is definitely not going to be the entire universe of Windows applications anytime soon. Now, we jump to Apple and Microsoft working together yet again. The other interesting thing that can't currently happen is bringing xCloud, or cloud gaming, or Xbox in general, to the Apple TV. There are millions of Apple TVs underneath TV sets around the world, more so than Xboxes. So it'd be really interesting if maybe Microsoft can use this and be like, hey, Apple, we'll put this on here as long as you put our cloud gaming service on your Apple TV. That would be a massive win for Microsoft, because Microsoft at the end of the day just wants to sell Game Pass subscriptions, and the best way to do that is to have it on more pieces of hardware, especially things like the Apple TV would be huge. Connect your Xbox controller up via Bluetooth. I don't think Apple's going to include the RF emitters that Microsoft would need for their own controllers, but Bluetooth definitely possible. Go log into the Xbox app, play your games. Now, the other challenge there is that Apple has its own arcade service, and they might not want to do that, but right now, Microsoft is being the good guy, which we don't always get to say here, and is allowing the Apple TV to move over to the Xbox platform, which is a good win because Microsoft, again, just wants to sell consoles along with Game Pass, but having that in there will maybe make it a little bit easier. It's just a little awkward, because of all the things going on behind the scenes, but this gives me some sort of hope that maybe xCloud or cloud gaming will eventually arrive on iOS in some form or another, because clearly they have a relationship in the right components and the right areas to make things like this happen. We just need it to materialize. The question is, how far along is this? Well, the Apple TV app for Xbox is actually far along in development. It's not some major upheaval of effort to get this on there, but they do have to have all the right pieces in place. I don't know exactly when it's going to arrive, and it could be very political and never arrive for all that we know. Microsoft can make those decisions at will and decide, hey, we're not actually going to do this until Apple opens the door for xCloud on iOS. We don't know that yet, but I can tell you that it is in development. When or will not it arrive, that is up for interpretation. The question is, do you, the user, think this is a good thing or bad thing? I find it hard to think that this is a bad thing. Now, you could say it's an unfair thing. I think that is a very reasonable approach to this, but definitely curious about how you guys feel, and would you even use this on your Xbox? Let me know.